Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive.
Always fun.
Today, we're exploring deep work.
Yeah.
The concept, the challenges, the
Mm.
benefits, all based on Cal Newport's book,
Of the same name.
which we'll just call Deep Work
Yeah.
for short.
Yeah.
Um,
Sounds good.
let's-
It's a timely one.
oh, for sure.
Especially now.
Yeah.
When it seems like distractions are everywhere, just, fighting for our attention at every turn.
Right. And the book really drives this point home, I think, with a pretty surprising example.
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
Okay.
Mark Zuckerberg's push for that massive
Huge.
open office plan at Facebook.
I remember that.
The one he called the world's largest.
The world's largest open office plan.
It just seems like kind of a
No.
counterintuitive idea.
Yeah. So Newport argues that these
Yeah.
trendy open offices, they actually end up hindering the very thing that they're supposed to promote.
Right.
Which is focused, valuable work.
So instead of these bustling hubs of innovation, we end up with what exactly?
Well, you get a lot of what Newport calls shallow work.
Okay.
So things like, responding to emails,
Right.
endless scrolling on social media, going to meeting after meeting after meeting.
Which makes me think about
Yeah.
some of those fascinating examples in the book.
Oh, yeah?
Like Carl Jung
Right.
building a tower in the woods.
Just to write.
Just to
Like,
write.
without distraction.
I mean, talk about commitment.
Right.
And then there's Jason Ben,
Yeah, Jason Ben.
who wanted to learn to code
Mm-hmm.
and just locked himself in a room.
No computer.
No computer.
Just textbooks and note cards.
Wow.
Until he mastered it.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
So it seems like these examples are pointing to something really important.
for sure.
This idea of deep work being more than just working hard
Uh-huh.
or for long hours.
It's not just about the hours you put in.
Right.
It's about the quality of those hours.
So how would you
Yeah.
define deep work?
Deep work is really about focused,
Okay.
undistracted concentration on a cognitively demanding task.
Mm-hmm.
It's about training your mind
Right.
to really engage deeply with the work.
Okay, so we're starting to get a picture
Yeah.
of what deep work is.
Uh-huh.
But the question that keeps popping up for me
Yeah.
is why is it becoming so rare
Right.
these days?
A good question.
Like,
Is it something about...
well, I think you have to consider
Okay.
how our culture has shifted.
Mhm.
It almost seems like it incentivizes shallow work.
Okay.
The way we communicate,
Yeah.
the way we measure success,
Uh-huh.
it all kind of feeds into this constant
Wow.
state of busyness rather than focusing on truly valuable output.
And the book digs into
Yeah.
some interesting reasons behind this shift.
It mentions the principle of least resistance,
Okay.
where we naturally gravitate towards whatever feels easiest in the moment, even if it's not the most important thing.
Even if it's not going to move the needle.
Right. And then there's this concept of the metric black hole.
A metric black hole.
Yeah.
Where, because deep work is hard to measure.
Right. It's intangible in a lot of ways. We often end up focusing on easier to quantify shallow tasks.
Right. Because you can say, I responded to 50 emails.
Right.
But how do you quantify
Yes.
the value of 2 hours of deep thinking?
Right.
You can't really...
And of course, we can't forget
And then...
about the cult of the internet. This
Yeah.
idea that anything internet related
Somehow online is good.
is inherently good,
Yeah.
even if it's pulling us away
Exactly.
from more meaningful work.
It's almost like we've become addicted to this constant stream of information and stimulation,
Yeah.
even when it's detrimental to our ability to really focus.
So all this talk about
Yeah.
deep work being rare,
Uh-huh.
like why does it matter
Right.
to the listener?
Good question.
What's in it for you
What's the takeaway?
to cultivate this seemingly
Yeah.
lost art of concentration.
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because deep work isn't just about productivity.
Right.
It's about living a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
I like that.
Yeah.
The book makes a strong case for that. Connecting deep work to
Right.
skill development.
You learn faster.
Right.
You learn better.
A sense of craftsmanship and
Yeah.
even increased happiness.
Increased satisfaction.
Right.
Like, think about someone
Okay.
like a master swordsmith.
Okay.
Okay, so the hours they spend
Yeah.
in deep concentration, honing their craft,
Yeah.
that's where they find
Right.
meaning and satisfaction.
And it seems like this idea of deep work Could apply to any field,
Absolutely.
any profession.
Any profession.
You don't need a glamorous job
You don't have to be a brain surgeon.
to find meaning.
Right.
You need a focused
Yeah.
and deliberate approach
The rarefied approach.
to whatever you do.
Exactly.
So that raises an important question.
Yeah.
How are you approaching your work?
How are you spending your time?
Are you allowing distractions to constantly chip away
At your time and energy.
at your time and energy?
Yeah.
Or are you making space for those
Right.
deep, meaningful efforts?
Are you prioritizing depth over shallowness?
All right, so let's say you're convinced.
Okay.
Deep work is important.
Yeah.
It leads to a more fulfilling life.
Mm-hmm.
You want in.
You want in.
But how do you actually start
Right.
incorporating it into your life?
That's a good question.
Where do you even begin?
Well, that's where Newport gets really practical.
Okay.
And he dives into different approaches.
Okay.
Because there's no one-size-fits-all method.
Right.
He outlines 4 different
Okay.
deep work philosophies
I like that.
to help you find what works best
Mm-hmm.
for your individual circumstances.
Okay, so let's explore these.
Yeah, let's dive in.
Philosophies.
Okay.
First up is the monastic philosophy,
The monastic philosophy.
which sounds pretty intense.
It is.
Yeah.
This one is for people who can completely disconnect
Okay.
for extended periods of time.
Like writers,
Researchers,
researchers.
maybe some entrepreneurs.
Yeah, some entrepreneurs.
So like Neil Stephenson,
Neil Stephenson.
the science fiction author.
Yeah.
The book mentions how he completely avoids
He avoids all email
email.
and public appearances
Really?
to focus on writing.
Wow.
He prioritizes producing high-quality work
Mm-hmm.
over engaging in all of those shallow distractions.
That's incredible.
Yeah, he's serious about his deep work.
Then there's the
And then there's bimodal philosophy,
bimodal philosophy.
which sounds a bit more manageable.
Yeah, a little bit more accessible.
For those of us who can't just disappear
Right.
for weeks on end.
Not all of us can go full monastic.
Yeah.
So the bimodal philosophy is about alternating
Okay.
between periods of intense, deep work
Uh-huh.
and then periods of more shallow,
Okay.
collaborative work.
So the book gives the example of
Yeah.
Adam Grant,
Adam
a
Grant.
Wharton professor.
Right.
He goes full monastic
He does.
for a few days each month.
a few days each month
Focus on research.
to really go deep on his research.
Like that?
But then the rest of the time, he's
Mhm.
very accessible.
Okay.
He's engaged
Right.
in those more collaborative, outward-facing activities.
Interesting.
So it's about finding that balance
Right.
that works for you.
Next up is the rhythmic philosophy.
The rhythmic philosophy.
Does this one involve a drum circle?
Not quite.
Okay.
Although
I bet
we're-
some.
the rhythmic philosophy is about
It's about making deep work a regular habit.
like exercising every morning.
So instead of waiting
Right,
for
yeah.
those random bursts of inspiration,
Exactly.
your
It's
intention
just
like
scheduling it.
carving out
You're
time
making it a routine.
for deep work
Yeah.
on a consistent basis.
Consistent basis.
Think of Jerry Seinfeld's
Oh, yeah.
don't break the chain method
Don't break the chain.
for writing jokes.
Right.
It's about building that routine,
Building that
the
consistency.
consistency and integrating
Integrating deep work into your daily life.
deep work into your daily life.
Into your daily life.
Yeah.
And finally, there's the
And then there's the
journalistic philosophy.
thermalistic philosophy.
Which sounds like it could be a good fit
Yeah.
for
This one's great.
people with unpredictable schedules.
Unpredictable schedules for sure.
Absolutely.
This one's about fitting in deep work
Okay.
whenever you can find the time.
So being opportunistic,
Yeah.
seizing those moments
Seizing those moments.
of
huh?
focus, even amidst
It's even amidst a busy,
a busy,
sometimes ever-changing schedule.
ever-changing schedule.
The book uses
Okay.
Walter Isaacson as an example.
Walter Isaacson.
The guy who wrote
Yeah, the Steve Jobs biographer.
that Steve Jobs biography.
Yeah.
Apparently he was able to find
Yeah.
pockets of time
Pockets of time
for focused writing,
for focused writing.
even while on vacation with friends.
Even on a beach vacation with friends, he was able
Wow.
just slip away for 20 minutes here and there.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So you've got these 4 different philosophies,
4 different philosophies.
which is great for giving people
yeah,
a starting point.
a starting point.
But are there any
But there are
other actionable tips
there are tons.
in the book that might resonate with our listeners?
I think one of the most interesting
Okay.
and potentially life-changing ones
Okay.
is what Newport calls the shutdown ritual.
Okay, let's dive into that.
Okay.
What exactly is a shutdown ritual?
So a shutdown ritual,
And how can it help us
Yeah.
cultivate deep work?
it's all about creating a clear separation
Okay.
between work time and personal time.
Okay.
So at the end of the workday,
Yeah.
you consciously shut down all work-related thinking.
So no checking emails after dinner.
No checking emails after dinner.
No mentally replaying those tough conversations.
No mentally replaying those conversations from the day.
From the day.
You're giving your mind a chance to truly disconnect
Right.
and recharge.
It almost sounds too simple.
It does.
But I guess that's the beauty of it.
But that's the beauty of it.
Right.
And there's actually science behind this.
Okay.
Studies have shown that when you give your conscious brain a break,
Uh-huh.
your unconscious mind can step in
Interesting.
and process information,
Okay.
even work through those complex challenges.
It's like your brain is working on those problems.
In the background.
And in the background, even while you're consciously focused on other things.
Exactly.
This is where activities like taking a walk in nature,
a walk in nature,
or even just enjoying a long bath,
a long bath,
they
become really valuable.
Yeah.
You're creating that space
Right.
for your unconscious mind
To do its work.
to do its work.
Which brings us to
Another intriguing concept from the book,
concept productive meditation.
productive meditation.
I've definitely had my best ideas
Me too.
while walking.
Yeah.
Or doing something mindless.
Something mindless.
So what is productive meditation?
So productive meditation is all about, instead of just zoning out
Right.
during those activities,
Yeah.
you're actively using them
Okay.
to think through problems or work through creative challenges.
So how do you actually do that?
How do you do that?
Do you have any?
The book suggests choosing
Yeah.
a well-defined problem to focus on
Okay.
during your walk, for example.
So as you're walking, you're essentially
You're working through those questions
working through those questions.
one by one.
One by one.
Kind of like having a conversation with yourself.
I like that.
Yeah.
But the key here
But the key is,
you're not just letting your mind wander aimlessly.
you're not just zoning out.
Right.
You're guiding your thoughts in a deliberate direction
Okay.
towards a specific goal.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's like taking that mental energy
Taking that mental energy,
and channeling it into something productive.
channeling it into something productive,
All while enjoying a relaxing walk.
all while enjoying a relaxing walk
Or a bath.
or a bath,
Whatever.
whatever works for you.
So we've got the shutdown ritual.
Shutdown ritual. We've got productive
Your
meditation.
meditation.
Yeah.
What other
techniques
techniques can help us cultivate deep work
can help us cultivate deep work?
outside of
Yeah, outside of our typical work hours.
our typical work hours?
Well, the book also talks about
Okay.
the surprising benefits of memory training.
Memory training? Like memorizing lists of
Like memorizing
random things.
random things.
How does that?
Help with deep work.
So it might sound a bit unconventional,
Okay.
but memory training can actually strengthen
Okay.
your general ability to concentrate.
So it's not just about
Right.
remembering facts and figures.
It's not just about rote memorization.
It's about training your mind
It's about training your mind
to focus more intensely.
You focus more intensely, yes.
And Newport suggests a specific exercise.
Right.
Learning to memorize.
Learning to
A
memorize.
shuffled deck of cards.
A shuffled deck of cards.
Now, I'm intrigued,
Yeah.
but also a bit intimidated.
I know.
My memory isn't exactly my
Nice.
strongest asset.
It's not about becoming a memory champion overnight.
Okay.
It's about the process itself. It's about training your mind
Okay.
to focus on a clear target
Right.
over and over again.
Got it.
The book even walks you through a step-by-step technique.
Oh, wow. For doing this with cards.
So it's like building mental muscles.
It's like building mental muscles.
It's like you would build physical muscles at the gym.
at the gym.
This is really making me rethink
Yeah.
my whole approach to downtime.
To downtime.
Instead of seeing it as a time to just completely check out,
To veg out.
I'm starting to see it
Right?
as an opportunity to actually improve my ability to focus
Absolutely.
and do more meaningful work.
You can use your downtime strategically.
Yeah.
Become a better deep worker.
And that's the beauty of deep work.
That is the beauty of deep work.
It's not just about those hours
Yeah.
we spend at our desks.
It's not just about the office.
It's about cultivating a mindset.
It's a mindset that values
It values focus
focus and depth
and depth
in all aspects of our life.
in all aspects of our lives.
Well, let's be real.
Okay.
In today's world,
Yeah.
distractions are everywhere.
They are everywhere.
It's not like we can just snap our fingers, I wish, and make them all disappear.
I wish. So how do we
Yeah.
deal with that?
So we can't eliminate distractions completely.
Yeah.
But we can become more mindful
Okay.
about how we engage with them,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to the digital world.
Which brings us to Newport's concept. Well,
Digital minimalism.
digital minimalism, right?
Digital minimalism.
Oh,
So it's not about
yeah.
rejecting technology altogether.
Okay.
It's about being more intentional
Right.
about which tools we allow into our lives
Mm-hmm.
and how we use them.
It's like that old saying, if
Yeah.
you don't control your tools, they will control you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The book talks about how we often fall into this trap
Okay.
of using any potential benefit
Mm-hmm.
as justification for using a tool
Oh, yeah.
without really considering the cost.
So we end up using way more tools
We end up using way more tools
than we actually need.
than we actually need.
And those tools end up consuming way more of our
And they end up taking up way more of our
time and attention
attention
than they deserve.
than they deserve.
Right.
So Newport suggests taking a more craftsman-like approach
Okay.
to tool selection,
Mm-hmm.
where you carefully evaluate each tool
Yeah.
and you only use the ones
Okay.
that truly support
Mm-hmm.
your most important goals and values.
One of the most radical,
One of the most radical
the intriguing
but intriguing
suggestions in the book
suggestions in the book:
is to quit social media,
quit social media,
at least for a period of time.
at least for a period of time.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think taking a 30-day break from social media
Okay.
can be incredibly eye-opening,
Yeah.
even if it seems a bit extreme.
Yeah, it seems a little extreme at
Ne-
first.
But it allows you to step back
Right.
and really assess
Yeah.
how much value those platforms
Mhm.
are actually adding to your life.
It's like hitting the reset button
Hitting the reset button
on your digital life.
on your digital life.
And what's fascinating is that
And what's fascinating is
many people who do this experiment
that many people who do this,
find that they don't actually miss
they don't actually miss it
social media
as much as they thought they would.
as much as they thought they would.
It's like they've been freed from this weight
Right.
that they didn't even realize they were carrying.
And that newfound freedom
That newfound freedom
can then be channeled into more
can be channeled into
meaningful activities,
more meaningful activities,
both online and offline.
both online and offline.
So it's not about becoming a Luddite
Right.
and rejecting all technology.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's about
It's about taking control
taking control
of your digital life
of your digital life and using technology in a way
and using it in a way
that supports your values and goals,
that supports your values and your goals,
rather than letting it dictate
rather than letting it dictate.
how you spend your time and attention. How you spend your time and attention.
It's about being the master of your technology, not the slave.
Exactly.
Right.
And once you start thinking about technology in this way, it becomes much easier to make conscious choices
Right.
about which tools you use
Uh-huh.
and how you use them.
It's like taking back your power
Taking back your power
over your time and attention,
over your time and attention,
which is ultimately
which is what it's all about.
what deep work is all about.
It's what deep work is all about.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier
That
this idea of making deep work
Yeah.
a sustainable
Sustainable
part of our
lives,
lives.
our lives, yeah.
And that's a crucial point.
That is a crucial point.
Because
Then
one
you
thing
have
to have a burst of inspiration,
a burst of inspiration,
but in a few hours
right,
in deep concentration.
or deep concentration.
Now, how do we make it
But how do you sustain that?
a consistent habit?
How do you make it a habit?
That's the million-dollar question.
That is the million-dollar question.
How do we actually integrate deep work
How do you integrate it
into our busy lives
into a busy life
in a way that sticks?
in a way that sticks?
It's not something.
Newport argues that deep work
Yeah.
is not something that just happens spontaneously.
Okay.
It requires structure,
Uh-huh.
planning,
Mm-hmm.
and discipline.
So it's not enough to just wait for those
You can't just wait for the muse to strike.
moments of inspiration to strike. You
You have
Yeah.
to be proactive.
So we have to be proactive.
You have to.
And one of the most effective ways to do
One of the
that
most effective ways to do this
is through something he calls
is through something he calls ritualizing.
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 What does that mean?
So what does that mean?
In the context of
In the context of deep work.
deep work.
It's about creating a set
Oh, okay.
of specific behaviors and routines
Mhm.
that you follow
Okay.
whenever you want to enter that state of deep focus.
Okay.
These rituals help signal to your mind
Right?
that it's time to shift
Uh-huh.
into deep work mode.
So it's like a pre-game routine.
Like a pregame routine.
Before a big game.
Before a big game.
You're mentally
and physically preparing yourself.
physically
for the task at hand.
preparing yourself for the task at hand.
For the task at hand.
Right.
And the book gives some great examples
Okay.
of what these rituals might look like.
Okay.
For some people,
Yeah.
it might be as simple as making a cup of tea
Okay.
and sitting down at their desk
Uh-huh.
in a quiet room.
Right.
For others, it might involve going for a walk in nature
Okay.
to clear their head before starting work.
So it's about finding what works for you.
Finding what works for you.
And then consistently following
those rituals.
rituals.
Whenever you need to focus.
Whenever you need to focus.
It's like building a mental on-ramp to deep work. A mental on-ramp
Yeah.
to deep work.
And the more you practice.
And the more you practice those rituals.
The
more effective they become.
Right.
At helping you transition into that state of deep work.
It's like training your mind.
It's like training your mind.
To associate those rituals with
focus
and concentration. Over time, those rituals become almost like a trigger. That automatically puts you into deep work mode. Okay. Now, in addition to rituals, the book also talks about making
grand gestures. Grand gestures to support your deep work habit.
As in doing something dramatic to show your commitment.
To show your commitment to deep work.
To deep work, exactly.
So, for example, it could be something like renting a cabin in the woods. For a week.
To write a book.
That's a classic example.
Or it could be something like setting up a dedicated workspace in your home that's completely free
of distractions. Yeah.
So it's about making a visible and tangible commitment to deep work. Both to yourself and to the people around you. And these grand gestures can be incredibly powerful.
They can be incredibly powerful.
They help you overcome inertia. And create the momentum. You need to actually get started. With deep work. It's like you're sending a clear message to your brain. Deep work is a priority. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes.
To
make it happen. And that commitment. That willingness to prioritize deep work. Is ultimately what separates those who thrive.
It's what separates
the knowledge economy.
It's people who thrive.
From those who struggle. Because in a world where distractions are constantly vying for our attention. The ability to focus deeply is becoming
more valuable than ever.
Yeah. And those who cultivate that ability will be the ones who create the most value. Who learn the fastest. And who ultimately lead the most. The fulfilling
and meaningful
lives.
We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
The what, the why. And the how. Of deep work. Before we move on, there's one more thing I want to touch on.
That I think is especially relevant to our listeners.
Okay, I'm all ears.
It's about the role of collaboration in deep work. Because it seems like deep work is often portrayed
as this solitary pursuit.
Yeah. But in the real world, most of us have to work with other people.
Most of us do.
So how do we reconcile those two things?
So that's a great point.
Yeah.
It's not always about isolating yourself.
Right.
And Newport actually addresses this in the book.
Okay.
He argues that collaboration can actually enhance deep work.
Interesting.
But only if it's done in the right way.
So it's not about just throwing a bunch of people in a room.
It's not about just brainstorming all the time.
And hoping for the best.
Right. There needs to be structure.
Okay.
And intention.
So how do we do that?
So Newport suggests a hub and spoke model.
Okay.
For collaboration.
Hub and spoke.
I'm
picturing a bicycle wheel.
That's a good analogy.
Okay.
So the hub is where you expose yourself to new ideas and perspectives.
Okay.
Through interactions with others.
Okay.
But then you need the spokes.
Okay.
Those periods of solitary deep work.
Right.
To process those ideas and turn them into something valuable.
So it's about finding that right balance.
Finding the right balance between collaboration and
solitude.
You're getting the best of both worlds.
You're getting the best of both worlds.
And the book gives some great examples of how this can work in practice.
Like Bell Labs.
Okay.
Where they had these long hallways that encouraged chance encounters between scientists from different disciplines.
So those chance encounters?
Those chance encounters were the hub.
Were the hub?
And then the scientists would go back to their labs, the spokes, to work deeply on the ideas they had discussed.
That's so interesting. And that model led to some incredible breakthroughs.
Really?
Including the invention of the transistor.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a testament to the power.
That's amazing.
Of combining focused individual work.
Yeah.
With strategic collaboration.
This is making me rethink how I approach collaboration. Instead of seeing it as a distraction from deep work.
Right.
I'm starting to see it as a potential catalyst for even deeper work.
And
the key is to be intentional. About how you structure that collaboration. Make sure there are clear goals. Dedicated time. For both hub. And spoke activity. And a shared understanding. The value of deep work. So it's not about just talking for the sake of talking. It's about using collaboration strategically. To enhance the quality and impact. Of your deep work. Well said. And that brings us to another important aspect. Of making deep work a sustainable part of your life.
Of making it sustainable.
How you structure your workday. And manage those inevitable distractions.
Right, because those distractions are going to come.
Right.
They're inevitable.
So how do we actually carve out that time?
How do you carve out the time?
For deep work, when you're constantly being bombarded with emails, meetings, and other demands.
So that's where Newport's concept of fixed schedule productivity comes in.
Okay, break that down for me.
Okay, what is fixed schedule productivity? It's the idea that instead of letting your work expand to fill all available time, you set a firm endpoint to your workday. And then you work backwards to find ways to be productive. Within those constraints.
So it's like setting a deadline for yourself. But for the end of the workday. Not for a specific task. Right.
And this might seem counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Especially in a culture.
It does.
That often glorifies long work hours.
Right.
And that always-on mentality.
That hustle culture.
The hustle culture.
But Newport argues that.
By
setting a fixed endpoint to your workday.
You
actually force yourself. To be more efficient with your time. It's like you're hacking your own productivity. By imposing these constraints on yourself. Right.
And the book gives a great example of this in action.
Okay.
Newport talks about how he was able to maintain a high level of productivity as a professor. Even with a demanding teaching schedule.
Right.
And a young family by adhering to a strict 5:30 p.m. end to his workday.
So he wasn't staying late at the office? Or working on weekends? Oh, wow.
He was disciplined.
That's incredible.
About protecting his personal time.
Right.
And that forced him to find ways to be highly efficient with his work hours.
This is making me rethink my whole approach to
work-life balance.
Work-life balance. Instead of feeling like I'm always behind. I'm starting to see how setting those boundaries. Make me.
And actually make you.
More productive and less stressed.
And
it's not just about productivity.
It's
about creating a more sustainable and fulfilling lifestyle. Protecting your personal time.
By protecting your personal time.
You're making sure you have the energy and space. To engage in activities that bring you joy. And recharge your mind. So it's a win-win. You get more done. And you have a better life. Outside of work. But how do you actually implement this?
So how do you implement
fixed schedule productivity?
In a practical way. Well, the book offers some really helpful tips.
Okay.
One of the most effective strategies is to simply make it public.
Public?
Public.
As in, tell everyone you know.
Tell everyone you know.
That you're not working past a certain time.
That you're not working past a certain time.
It might sound a bit strange.
It might sound strange.
But by making your fixed schedule public.
But by making it public.
You're creating a sense.
You're creating a sense.
Of accountability.
Of accountability.
So you're less likely to break your own rules.
You're less likely to break your own rules.
If you know other people are aware of them.
If you know other people are aware of them.
And it also helps.
And it also helps.
Manage expectations.
Manage expectations.
People will be less likely to expect you to be available.
People will be less likely to expect you to be available.
After hours?
After hours.
If they know you have.
If they know you have.
A strict cutoff time.
A strict cutoff time.
That's a great point.
It's about setting those boundaries.
It's about setting those boundaries.
Not just for yourself.
Not just for yourself.
But also for the people you work with.
What other tips?
What other tips does Newport suggest?
Yeah.
Well, another tip that goes hand in hand with fixed schedule productivity is scheduling every minute of your workday.
Oh, right. We touched on this before.
We did.
But it becomes even more crucial.
Even more crucial.
When you have that firm endpoint in mind.
When you have that endpoint.
Right. It's about being intentional with your time.
Intentional with your time.
And making sure your schedule actually reflects your priorities.
Your priorities.
Especially those deep work tasks.
Especially those duck work tasks.
Exactly. By planning out your day in advance.
By planning it out.
You're ensuring that those important deep work tasks.
Deep work tasks.
Get the dedicated time they need.
Get the time they deserve.
And you're less likely to get sucked into those shallow activities.
If you've already
your day.
Structured your day.
With intention.
With intention.
Now let's talk about email. Because let's be honest.
Let's be honest.
For many of us, email can be a huge
time sink.
Time sink and a major obstacle.
Major obstacle.
To deep work.
Deep work.
Absolutely. It feels like a never-ending battle.
It does.
To keep that inbox under control.
It never ends.
So what does Newport suggest?
What does he suggest?
For dealing with that?
He advocates for what he calls a process-centric approach to email, which means you're not just reacting to emails as they come in.
Right.
You're creating a system for processing them efficiently and minimizing their impact on your deep work time.
So it's about taking control of your inbox.
Taking control.
And making it work for you instead of the other way around.
Instead of it controlling you.
And one of the more radical suggestions in the book is to use something called
sender filters.
Sender filters.
Sender filters.
Tell me more.
Okay, so think of them as a way to automate your email triage process.
Okay.
You set up rules that automatically categorize and prioritize emails based on certain criteria.
Got it.
This saves you so much time and mental energy in the long run.
It's like having a personal assistant.
It's like having an assistant
for your inbox.
For your inbox.
That sounds amazing.
It is amazing.
But also a bit daunting to set up.
It can be a little daunting to set up.
Yeah.
But the book provides some guidance on how to do it effectively.
And the payoff is?
And the payoff is huge. Newport shares an example of how he uses sender filters himself.
Okay.
Anyone who wants to contact him has to first check an FAQ section to make sure their question hasn't already been answered.
That's a great idea.
It is a great idea.
Cuts down on all those repetitive questions.
Cuts down on the noise.
Right.
And then if their question passes that test, they then have to agree to do a good deed for a stranger.
Really?
If Newport responds within 24 hours...
Oh, that's
strict.
Really strict.
But it's effective.
Yeah.
It helps him weed out unnecessary emails.
Right.
And ensures that he's only spending time on messages that truly matter.
It's about protecting your time and attention.
Protecting your time and attention.
Which is a recurring theme.
It is.
We keep coming back to.
It's the key.
And it really resonates with me.
It's so important.
It's a crucial concept.
It is crucial.
Especially in today's world.
Especially in today's world.
The ability to focus deeply is becoming...
It's becoming increasingly valuable.
Increasingly valuable, almost like a superpower.
Like a superpower.
Because it's the key to doing our best work.
To doing our best work.
To learning and growing.
And learning and growing.
And to leading more fulfilling and meaningful lives.
And to living a better life.
And as Cal Newport so convincingly argues...
As he argues...
In deep work.
in deep work.
It's a skill that anyone can cultivate.
Anyone can cultivate.
With the right strategies.
With the right strategy.
And the right mindset.
And the right mindset.
You don't have to be a monk.
You don't have to be a monk.
Or a tech genius.
Or a tech genius.
To tap into the power of deep work.
To tap into that power.
This deep dive has been incredibly insightful.
It has been fun.
And I'm already feeling inspired.
Good.
To make some changes in my own life.
That's what it's all about.
How about you?
Me too. Okay. Absolutely. I'm going to go schedule every minute of my day right now.
I love it. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into deep work.
Great conversation.
But the conversation doesn't have to end here.
Yeah, keep it going.
Let us know what you thought of this episode.
What resonated with you?
What are your biggest takeaways?
What are your strategies for deep work?
How do you manage distractions?
We'd love to hear from you.
Until next time, happy deep working, everybody.
See ya!